every country on Earth is in debt. The United States now owes over $38 trillion, the highest figure in its history. The European Union carries around $14 trillion. Japan, almost $9 trillion. Even oil-rich nations like Saudi Arabia or export powerhouses like Germany and China all owe enormous sums. But here's the paradox. If everybody owes money, who exactly is owed? This is the financial historian, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Debt isn't just a burden. It's the architecture of the modern world. Every war, every crisis, every boom and bust sits on top of this invisible scaffolding of IOUs. And if you follow the chain of creditors long enough, you discover something unsettling. The world doesn't owe money to anyone in particular. It owes it to itself. That doesn't mean everyone benefits equally. To understand how we reached this point, a planet drowning in over $315 trillion of total debt, nearly 3 times the size of the global economy, we need to go back to the beginning. Centuries before the first credit card swipe or digital transfer, the idea of national debt was born not in Wall Street, but in war. In 1694, England was fighting France and running out of gold. The king turned to merchants for help. In exchange for a permanent stream of interest payments backed by future taxes, they financed the crown. To manage this new arrangement, the Bank of England was created. It was revolutionary. The state could now spend money it didn't yet have. It was the birth of the government bond, the seed of the modern financial system. France copied it. The Netherlands refined it. The newly independent United States adopted it to fund its revolution and later its expansion westward. National debt became not a mark of failure, but a measure of credibility. Ability to borrow was the ability to rule. Empires once conquered territory to extract gold. Now they issued bonds to extract interest. The battlefield became the balance sheet. Fast forward 3 centuries, and debt has become the world's dominant export. The United States owes $38 trillion. Japan over $9 trillion. And global borrowing increases by the equivalent of $1 trillion every 100 days. Every country owes. Every bank lends. Every citizen through taxes, savings, and pensions is both debtor and creditor. But who exactly holds the other end of the rope? Out of America's $38 trillion, about half is publicly held, owed to investors. Roughly 2/3 of those investors are American banks, pension funds, mutual funds, insurance companies, and the Federal Reserve. The remaining 1/3, about $9 trillion, sits in foreign hands. Japan is the top holder with around $1 trillion, followed by China with about $800 billion. So when people say the U.S. is in debt to China, that's true, but only for roughly 2% of the total. Most of the debt America owes is to America. And this circularity isn't just American, it's global. Japan lends to the U.S. The U.S. lends to Europe. Europe lends to developing nations. Developing nations lend back to advanced economies. It's a planetary game of hot potato, except the potato is made of promises. But behind every government bond sits a web of institutions, hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and central banks. They decide who can borrow cheaply and who will pay a premium. When they lose confidence, currencies collapse, governments fall, and economies can be reshaped overnight. Central banks don't merely manage debt, they manufacture it. Every time a central bank buys government bonds, it creates new money. Every dollar in circulation represents a unit of debt somewhere else. There is no such thing as debt-free money. For decades, this loop has sustained itself through confidence. As long as investors believe governments will pay interest, even if never, the principle, the machine keeps turning. But when confidence collapses, systems break, like Greece in 2010, Argentina repeatedly, and Sri Lanka recently. And when the system breaks, the creditors become visible. The IMF, the rating agencies, and the anonymous bondholders. Yet even after collapse, the same logic restarts. New loans replace old ones. Old debts are restructured. The machine resets. Because in the 21st century, debt isn't designed to be repaid. It's designed to be rolled over. Governments treat debt like a rolling subscription, issuing new bonds to pay off old ones. Interest becomes the real product. The global economy depends on that rent. The U.S. will never clear its $38 trillion debt. Japan will never clear its 250% debt to GDP burden. And investors aren't waiting to be repaid. They're waiting to renew the deal. Because government debt is the world's safest collateral. Pension funds hold it. Banks use it as security. Central banks treat it as money. If governments actually paid off their debt, the global economy would collapse. So the goal isn't to eliminate debts, to keep it sustainable and believable. Because once belief fades, confidence collapses, interest rates spike, and the economy built on rolling promises grinds to a halt. Debt has turned from bondage to balance. But if that balance ever tips, we'll remember what debt really is: a promise that can't be kept forever.